everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the recipes from the World of H.P. Lovecraft cookbook. Sonia's Magical Spaghetti last week, the entree, actually turned out to be pretty bland in my opinion. It served its purpose, but not really anything memorable in terms of flavor. This week, we're on to the dessert, Meteor Cakes. First up, let's tell the story. I'm going to move this clip that I'm using to keep the recipe on the page I need. The color out of space, which S.T. Joshi describes as Lovecraft's greatest triumph in the depiction of an extraterrestrial entity, deals with the after effects of a meteor striking farmland on the outskirts of Arkham. The rock, a stony messenger from the stars, which Lovecraft describes as oddly soft, changes in size and is slightly luminous, with a color that is impossible to describe. In line with Lovecraft's move towards science fiction over supernatural horror, the rock is investigated by scientists from Miskatonic University, but they are unable to ascertain what it is. And this is where Joshi and David E. Schultz hold that the horror in the story is found. We do not know whether the rock itself is animate, whether it acted as a vessel for animate entities, or where it came from. We'll look at the strike's impacts on page 112. But this recipe is all about the space rock itself. These drop scones, or in this case, meteor cakes, resemble the rocky texture of the space boulders, but are a little tastier. And a note here, light and fruity, these are a lovely treat with a cup of tea or coffee. They are best eaten on the day they are made and are particularly good still warm from the oven. For best results, don't be tempted to add too much milk. The dough should be thick and lumpy. Well, we'll find out about all of that soon enough. The ingredients for this recipe are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. In order to make this recipe, we're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. It probably seems weird to see a bowl and a few other things in front of the flour. I'll make that make sense in a minute. We'll tip this down. Actually, we'll do that with it. 4½ teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, a stick of unsalted butter softened. That's where the mug's going to come in because I'm more than likely going to have to soften that in the microwave. Half a cup of raw sugar, which I'm using cane sugar for that, plus extra for sprinkling that we will be doing. A teaspoon of grated orange zest. That's a little more than a teaspoon where we're going to use it. 2/3 of a cup of golden raisins. The recipe also calls for a half cup of dried currants, but ChatGPT suggested a substitution of adding more raisins in, so I'm just going to up the raisins to a cup and call it good. A quarter of mixed peel or chopped candied cherries, an extra large egg that's been lightly beaten, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of milk. Now let's move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. I've got the oven preheating to 400 degrees before we go too much farther. Also, if you notice it's a little bit brighter than usual in the kitchen, you're right about that. What happened, the reason for that is because in the light fixture in the kitchen, not in the range hood up here, in the light fixture on the ceiling, turns out there were two bulbs blown in the light fixture. So earlier this week, I went ahead and changed those light bulbs out. And then I had to have maintenance come in and put the light fixture back up. So that's all been handled. And okay, looks like I was putting it in the wrong way. Anyway, all of that aside, now we're going to start preparing the ingredients. So the first thing we need to do is the first official step is to line a baking sheet with nonstick baking parchment. I will deal with that later because you guys don't need my help with line a baking sheet with parchment paper. The first thing we're going to do is sift the flour. Now, I've actually never sifted flour before, so I had to watch a YouTube video on how to do it. That's where the bowl and the extra accessories you were seeing earlier are going to come into play. So we're going to take our flour. This is going to be very much eyeballed. That should be enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a spoon and mix that up a little bit, incorporating some of the air, incorporating a little bit of the air into this flour mixture, into this flour. I'm going to leave the canister of flour down for the time being, just in case I need more. But I don't think I'm going to need too much more. What I will need, though, is I'll need my big bowl in shot. I'm going to put that over there. Okay. So now I'm going to take a dry measuring cup, which here's my 2-cup measuring cup. Then I'm going to scoop this in. I don't want to pack it down. And the recipe does specifically call for sifting the flour, which is why I'm doing it this way. Yes, I think this seems a little bit ludicrous, but we're going to go with it. Maybe just a smidge on the short side, but I think we'll be fine with that. So we'll add that in. We'll add that into a big mixing bowl. Then we can put the flour back up. Then we'll get the baking powder and spices in. So I've got the baking powder, ginger, and cinnamon all right here. And we said 4.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Yep. So 2, 4, and a half. Then we need the teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And our 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. Those can all go back up. We'll give that a quick mix up. Okay. And now with that, this is where we're going to deal with, we're going to work on softening the butter down. Yeah, that definitely needs to get softened down. So all we're going to do is we've got our stick of unsalted butter right here. I'm going to be smarter than the peel because that would be moderately helpful for this recipe. I'm tearing it, but I don't think I'm tearing it too badly. Nope. There we are. Thankfully, I'm wearing an apron. So now we're going to put this in for add 30 in the microwave. Okay. Ah, crap. It melted a bit on me. Nothing I can do about that. Which, unfortunately, that may cause problems. So if I probably just wanted to put it in for like 15 seconds. But what we're going for here is we want to mix this. Until the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs. So obviously we're not going to, well, we may still be able to get some of that here. Actually, we're making decent... The oven just came up to temperature. We're actually making decent headway on getting that to where I want it to be. Okay. So now we want to start adding everything else. We'll go for the sugar. Which we've got our half a cup of cane, we've got our cane sugar right here. We need half a cup of this. We'll move the cane sugar back toward the table. The orange zest, which I've got that right here. The golden raisins, which I've got those right here. Easy does it on the bag because I do want to be able to clip it back. There we are. And who knows, if this recipe turns out well and actually keeps decently well as leftovers, despite the note that you really want to enjoy these the day you make them, I may make them again. Okay. There's our cup of raisins. I'm going to first get a clip for these so I can put them away. Okay. So the raisins can go back up as well. I'll put those up here. Okay, and we want the cherries here as well. So I've got our cherries right here. Okay. There's our quarter cup of, okay, that's a little more than a quarter cup of cherries, but we can work with that. That will go up as well. And now, yep, now we're going to stir all of that in. Let's get the sugar incorporated in there. Okay. Try to break some of this up a little bit, but not too much. Okay, that looks all good. So now we're going to bring in the egg and enough of the milk that we want a soft and slightly sticky batter. So I've got the egg coming in. I'm going to reach down into the silverware drawer and get my small spatula out, my very small spatula out. You've seen this before. Okay. And then I'm going to grab the tablespoon down from my measuring spoon set. We'll start off with 3 tablespoons of milk, as remember the note resist the temptation to add too much milk because you want the dough to be thick and lumpy. So we'll go 2 and 3. I'll leave the milk out for the time being. We'll start mixing this up. And remember, we want a soft and sticky batter. And I think we have most definitely gotten to the sticky part. Yeah. Also very soft, so that worked out very well. To the point where I'm probably going to need a spatula to try to get as much of this incorporated as I can. Oh wow, yeah, this actually worked out very well. So now we're going to switch the shot. Now we'll bring the baking sheet in shot. Here's our baking sheet that we've lined with parchment paper. What we're going to do now is we're going to drop 10 to 12 mounds of the batter onto our baking sheet. Some of these are going to be pretty big, but we'll see what we can do with them. And honestly, I'm not sure we're going to get the 10 to 12 out of here that the recipe suggests, but we'll see how we do. Especially not if they're that big. If you give that one a little more. I probably also should have used a little bigger baking sheet. But that'll definitely be an easy enough problem to rectify if I think I need to, and the way things are looking here, I don't think I'll need to. Actually, I take that back, unless I think I can spread. No, I think we'll be fine. They may start to bake a little bit together when we put them in the oven here in about 30 seconds, but I don't think there's really any help for that. But I think we got most of the batter out of there. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give my hands a quick wash. And then a quick wipe down, especially since I'm going to be handling the camera momentarily. Now I'm going to put them in the oven that's been preheated, and we'll bake them for 18 to 20 minutes. I'm going to go up to 23 minutes on that, just because I know how my oven functions. So we'll bring this over to the oven, put them in. I'll set the timer for 23 minutes, and then we'll come back after these have had, I was going to sprinkle them with a little extra sugar. I'm not going to worry about that now since they're in the oven. But we are going to come back when they come out of the oven, and I give them a little bit of time to cool. Here's our first look at the cakes as they've had some time to cool out of the oven. They were actually fairly clumped due to the size of the baking sheet I used. Fortunately, as they were fresh out of the oven, I just had to put a spatula to them, and they managed to separate easily for me. So this is what we're left with. Now I'm going to plate one of these and I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. I've got some of the Meteor Cakes right here. I was meaning to sprinkle them with some extra sugar, but I actually forgot when they were getting ready to go in the oven, so we're not having the extra sprinkled sugar on here. Anyway, let's give these a taste and see what I think. At an initial taste, I don't think I really miss the extra sprinkled sugar that I would have had on here. Seems like it's just sweet enough with the dried fruit that we've got in here, but I am very happy with how these turned out. I can definitely see how they would be best enjoyed warm, but I'll probably keep some of these as leftovers and pin a comment later after I have a chance to try them after at least a day's gone by after they've had time to fully cool. But initially warm, I think they are at their best. That's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week, we'll be on the drink as we have 5 Saturdays in the month. We'll be making the Gibbous Moon. As for what else is coming up on the channel for games, later this afternoon, we will be at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. for Block 40 of the 2009-10 hockey season replay in Stratomatic Hockey, where the Pittsburgh Penguins will be playing the Washington Capitals. Tomorrow morning, the 2025 Summer of Lovecraft comes to its raging climax in Miskatonic Museum as we are playing Elder Sign against Yog-Sothoth. We are tied at 1. Elder Sign is for all the marbles. First time that's ever happened on the channel. Wednesday, we've got another book game lined up as we're playing The House on Sentinel Hill. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.